Alright, what's up you guys? So today I'm going to be reviewing the Elite FTS Monster Mini Resistance Bands. Now these things, I believe, are about 6 inches long. Man, I gotta be completely honest with you, I don't see the use for these things, man. The black one is like the strong resistance. And dude, this thing has no type of give to it. If you're going to use this on anything other than deadlift, it's completely useless. You definitely can't use these for squat, so I'm just going to tell you that right now. You definitely can't use these for bench. I tried it, and dude, I almost fucking died trying to use this on bench, man. So just beware. These are not for bench press, and these are not for squat. I've seen videos of the guys at Elite FTS using these for bench press, but dude, I don't see how you can, unless you got like a rig specifically made for these mini bands. Dude, I almost snapped my shit up. But so the black one, it's heavy resistance, and dude, it's got no give to it, man. It barely stretches at all. I'm trying to show you guys how far it'll stretch, dude. So like from this end of the screen, it'll stretch a little bit. And then the pink one, dude, you might get a little bit more give out of it, yeah. So the idea is to put these on your feet and attach them to the deadlift bar on the floor. So it should be under your foot and on the bar, so when you pick the bar up, it's just stretching from the distance from your foot to wherever the bar ends up. So that's the point of these, is to put that little bit of resistance for that, 1-2 feet of height that you get on that bar, and that's how these are supposed to be used. Now for that purpose, the heavy ones, I don't know if it's just that I'm weak, or if it's just that these things don't stretch enough to allow me to deadlift. But dude, even with 135, it's really hard for me to deadlift with these bands on my feet, just because they don't stretch, man. I guess I got long legs or something, because when I tried the heavy ones on deadlift, dude, I couldn't get the bar more than 8 inches off the ground. But when I tried the light ones, I could almost do a complete deadlift. I don't know if my form is fucked up when I do them, but these bands, I really don't think, in my honest opinion, they help you with deadlift. They fuck up my form, and they fuck up my deadlift. They hurt my feet, they hurt my back. It just, man, I'm sure there's a proper way, and there's a proper form that can be taught, and there's a proper application of these that can be taught. But in my honest opinion, if you're going to use bands while you're training, use long bands. And by long bands, I believe 18 to 24 inches is the length for a long band, if you want to use that for squat or bench press, which is primarily what I use bands for. I have a ton of bands in my basement, in my personal gym. I have probably 6 different sets of bands. And I've got light, medium, heavy, super heavy, then like fucking extreme heavy, which, dude, I can barely use, to be honest with you. I tried squatting with the extreme heavies, with like 135, dude, it's hard. The extreme heavies were like an additional 200 pounds of pressure per band. Dude, these bands are effective. If you get the long bands, they're super effective. I believe I've got the lowest or the weakest band I have adds 45 pounds per band. So that's 100 pounds total if you have 2 bands. Then the ones that I usually use add 95 pounds per band at the top of the lift. So if you're squatting and you've got if you just got 135, man, and you're squatting and you've got 95 pounds added to the top of the lift on each side, that's 200 pounds added to your squat. So if you're just squatting 135 with those bands, you're squatting 335 when you get to the top of the movement. So if you got 225 with those bands, man, you're at 400 pounds at the top of the movement. So bands are super effective, because as you go up, it gets heavier. But like when you rack it, so when you take it off the rack, it's at 400 pounds. If you got 225 pounds on there or whatever, so you take it off the rack, it's like you're unracking 400 pounds. When you go down, it gets easier and easier as you go down. When you come up, you're starting at 225, then it's like 250, 275, and then it goes up. So when you get to the top, you're at 400. So the whole movement isn't going to be like you're doing 400 pounds. The idea is at the very top, it's going to be similar to those high numbers. So that's the point of using bands, is that explosive speed and training the rate that you can rise with a certain weight. and it's that speed training is the point of having bands. That's the whole point. But as far as the small bands go, guys, I would recommend if you're going to spend money on bands, spend on the long bands. You're going to get a lot more use out of a long band than a small band, in my professional opinion, or my lack of professional opinion. Also, if you want bands to deadlift, which is what these are mostly marketed for, as I mentioned, you can use a long band to deadlift, and I like to do these kind of deadlifts. They're called reverse deadlifts. Now, a reverse deadlift is where you attach the band to a high point or a high object or something, like the top of a squat rack, for example. Then you put the other end on the bar, so that resistance, instead of pulling down on the bar, is pulling up on the bar. So if you have a 95-pound resistance band, instead of adding 95 pounds, you're subtracting 95 pounds at the top. So you see what I'm saying? It should get easier as you lift rather than harder. So if you want to deadlift 600 pounds off the floor, when you first get it off the floor, it's like 600 pounds. Oh wait, shit, I got that backwards. I got it backwards. So alright, so if you're using a reverse deadlift, if you're reverse band deadlifting, at the bottom of the movement is where it's the easiest, and it gets harder as you go up. So it's exactly like using bands in a normal way. So, but you're just putting on more weight rather than less weight in terms of actual plates. So if you got 600 pounds on the bar, and you got a 100-pound band on each side, at the bottom of the movement, it's 400 pounds. But then as you come up, it's 450, 500. Then 600 at the top of the movement when the bands are completely flaccid, when the bands are no longer tight. So that's the point. You can reverse deadlift bands, and it'll be easier to get it off the floor. But the lockout is what you're training with the reverse banding on a deadlift. So I don't know if I explained that horribly or good, but basically the point of reverse banding is training the lockout of a deadlift. So the lockout portion is the heaviest part. Getting it off the floor, easiest. Lockout becomes the heaviest because the bands, their resistance is decreasing as you come up. So again, oh shit, I dropped this band. Alright, so again, to sum it up, dude, Elite FTS mini resistance bands. If you're going to spend the money, dude, I would recommend just buying some normal long bands. It's a cute idea, but dude, nah, just don't waste your money. They're only like $5 a pop or something like that. But man, just get some good real bands. It's just a lot more effective than these little things.